All right, we should be live. All right. Um, I made it. I made it into this chair. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't easy, but I just told myself just sit in the chair and then you'll figure out the rest. And I guess I kind of did. Um, if unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard of the model context protocol thing. It's from the folks at Anthropic. They're basically having their own S3 moment. And by that I mean, when Amazon came out with the S3 protocol, I bet nobody at the time knew that several decades later, when did S3 come out? Created when? Terrible. Okay, 2006. Yeah, so basically 20 years later, it's in terms of moving the bytes around, especially in a cloud context, it's well and truly the lingua franca of, just pushing and pulling bytes around. And I bet you that in 2006 and several years, several few years after that, they didn't know that the S3 protocol will be as big as it is today. So I guess Anthropic they basically took a shot, right, at building something, a protocol that is meant to be the backbone of having AI, AI agents, or I guess LLM models, for them to be able to communicate with other software, right? So it's basically a protocol that enables that enables some sort of proxying, right? Some sort of interfacing between the LLM models and external software. And by external, I mean, external to the model itself. So that's really at least my understanding of what the model context protocol is supposed to be. I'm not surprised. I mean, it's not exactly it's not some sort of huge, big, transcendent discovery. It's like it was only a matter of time for something like that to come out. I just don't know that this specific protocol is necessarily the right one. But it surely is capturing a lot of attention. And, I think it's one of those things where you just need to have the idea and put it out there, and through the network effect, it just kind of becomes this thing that that basically just spreads, and before you know it, it's just accepted as being the standard or the thing that you're supposed to do. Yeah, I I don't know that I'm fully on board with the protocol, but at the same time, I don't know that I have the that I can put together a very compelling argument against it. I just don't know that this specific iteration is uh, great. But then again, you know, it's um, I think we are, as a technology, it's allowed to evolve, get better over time. I'm just not in love with it at this moment. Um, I guess that's mostly because um, it doesn't necessarily fit into my long term idea of what AI looks like. Um, and I think my take is that, and I don't know, maybe at some point that's something that I need to really dig in and find ways to really articulate why. I guess make a really strong case for it, but I really think that ultimately, um, a lot of the things that people are now building and really are excited about leveraging the capabilities of AI, it's really just about how do you retrieve information and deliver it contextually, but also in a way that is complex and yet uh, useful enough for uh, mostly humans to make decisions, right? Like it's really all about, for the most part, the things that people are, if you take um, any of these big products that are now all about AI and they're screaming AI native and all that, there is a recurring idea of, you know, just let us access your data and we'll make it available in some sort of format that accelerates, you know, your processes or whatever. Like it's all about here's the world, right? Here's the world of information, right? This big, huge amount of data and information that's out there, right? And let us make it so that we can shrink it, make it contextual, and deliver it to you in whatever form you desire so that you can go on and basically accelerate the rate at which you produce value. That's really like in a nutshell. That's kind of, I mean, that's the point, right? Information uh, compression uh, without loss of semantics, and just really enabling people to, you know, make good, or I guess useful decisions based on the information that has been served. Um, and I think ultimately, um, that to me fits very well. And I mean, there are a few things that don't fit in what I'm about to say, but I think most of the things that we do and the way we run businesses, um, really fundamentally comes down to state machines, right? Um, there are very few um, products slash enterprises that whose livelihood and the way they produce value and you know make money from that value that they produce. Uh, I have I don't know that you can look at such enterprises and somehow find a way where they do things that do not involve the basic idea of a state machine, right? And I mean that to say it out loud like this sounds obvious, duh, but I feel like we lose sight of that. That a lot of the things that we build at the end of the day, even a simple Hello World program, which on the surface looks uh, deceptively trivial, but you start peeling the layers, and really it's all about state machines, right? You're moving from one moment where you have some sort of understanding of the world to the next where there's a delta. Uh, you know, you're moving through what you can call, I guess, frames of time. And with that comes, state being changed more often than not. Um, so to extrapolate from that idea, uh, at scale, really, if you think about it, the way that we've dealt with this fundamental um, concept of state machines at huge scales, it's it's been database systems, right? Um, whether it's an RDMS, a relational database, or a file system, object store, there's so much of the way the world runs depends on the very basic principle of here's a piece of data and I expect to be able to retrieve that value at some point in time, unless I have explicitly uh, codified some operation or some process that gets rid of it and makes it basically destroys it. So yeah, just the basic idea of here's a value and I expect to be able to retrieve it once it's been persisted. And it's such a basic fundamental thing that we forget that the world runs on database systems, and a database system can be if you squint long enough at most things, at least in the software world, you see a database, right? Excel is a database, right? So looking at things from that lens, my take is that ultimately AI will be swallowed up by the database systems, right? Because ultimately, what really makes your AI useful is the fact that it has access to some context, or some, in my context, will really mean data, And based on that data, it gives you some sort of useful information. Better yet, what we want is that it mines that data and then autonomously makes, thinks about what's the next step, given that I have gathered this information and I've extracted some meaning out of it. What is the next step? And taking that step without us necessarily asking it to, right? With obviously the step needs to fit within the some framework that we've um, established for the AI agent. Um, and to me, ultimately, and I mean, you'll see this being repeated ad nauseum already, and it's the idea that your models, or at least the output of your models, the quality of it really depends on the quality of the data that you give it, that it's been given. That's why there's so much money being spent on just not only acquiring data, but also mining it, refining it to get something that's quote unquote high quality and not only diverse but also very representative of whatever task that is at hand. So really, the compute part is obviously really important for AI to grow and become more capable. You need more capable compute resources. I mean, there's a reason why Elon is investing so much money in the data centers that are, well, I guess there's only one right now, but I feel like he's looking into getting another one. Yeah, considering a second one. Yeah. So there's a reason why there's so much money. I mean, it's not just Elon, just in general. I think a few weeks ago, I guess early January, maybe, or February. I don't even remember. Feels like an eternity ago. There was the whole spiel about how there was going to be this $500 billion investment for building a data center. Was it even just one or multiple ones? 500 billion AI project. The Stargate project here. Well, I think it's just saying AI infrastructure. I don't think it necessarily says if it's one data center or multiple one. Just AI infrastructure. Anyway, so yeah, the computer is definitely important, but I think over time, the computer is probably going to become way cheaper than it is right now. I mean, if you think about the fact that we have these devices, an iPhone, and how powerful the chips inside them, or just the raw compute. I have a Mac Mini, super, like when you consider the form factor, but but also the things that it can do. I mean, that's very impressive, right? So compute is always gonna be a thing that is needed, but compute without data is it's a tragedy, basically, right? You can have the most powerful quantum chip or whatever out there. If you don't have data and useful data for you to just plow through and do something with it, then it's really tragic. It's like seeing I don't know, a 7 feet person who has never played basketball and just doesn't give a shit about basketball. I mean, I don't know if that's a really great analogy, but I think you get the point, right? Um, Compute without data is just you could make the case. I don't know if there's a if a philosophical. Wait, am I making up a word? Philosophical. Okay, it's my pronunciation that let me down there. Uh, my first language is French, so sometimes I lose track of how to pronounce things in English. You could make. I'm sure there's some people out there who could have a philosophical discussion about the whole thing of compute being nothing without data, without actual data. In fact, you could make the case that compute itself is data, but data that's alive. I don't know. Now I'm just saying things. But I think you get the point, right? Data is like when you think about the fact that as we see the open source community rallying and building these really awesome models that are you know really good in quality in the things of what they can do, and the expectation is that that's gonna keep happening or keep going. The models are gonna keep getting better and better, uh, and we'll have breakthroughs. Sorry, over and over and over again. But yeah, ultimately, data data is the key. Data is the moat. Infrastructure is the moat, but really, it's the infrastructure to handle the uh, the bandwidth of the data that you need to have access to do truly incredible things with these uh, AI systems, right? And I think going back to the whole idea of everything is a state machine. I mean, time and space, at least the way we experience it, is a state machine, right? Um, the you today is this version of you because of things you have done up to that, up to today. And that's a state machine, right? Uh, the way, yeah, the way so many things work, right? Not just in the abstract, right? It's very much state is you know, fundamentally behind it. And the way we've dealt with it, at least um, from a technical slash digital aspect, the way we've dealt with that um, has been database systems. Um, and I think ultimately we're gonna keep pushing the AI system further, I mean, closer and closer and closer to the data, which means that I foresee that AI is going to be swallowed up by database systems. Um, and looking at things from that perspective, I just don't know that something like the model context protocol is meant to be the de facto standard of communication between AI and the external world. Um, in fact, I'm not sure that you necessarily need a protocol for that. If AI is just going to end up being a component of a database system, right? Just like you have a query engine um, that is part of a, you know, an overarching database system. Um, in fact, one idea, like, if the AI is going to be pushed into the, closer and closer to the data, which means it ends up being one of the core component of database systems. One of the most obvious parts where it's going to be meshed with, I don't know, is that a right word? Probably meshed or combined with, I guess, will be the query engine, I think. Because, query engines, I hesitate to say this with complete certainty, but query engines is arguably the most complex part of a database system. And I guess it depends on what kind of database systems you're talking about. But for the sake of just this conversation, let's just assume that I'm talking about OLTP and OLAP and maybe object store. The query engine, when you think about optimization and just being able to put together a query plan, which, by the way, if when people talk about AI systems and all that, you'll notice that there's usually the mention of a plan, right? There's the user input, which needs to be parsed for intent. And based on that intent, the agent or agents are supposed to put together a plan, right? Just like a query engine is supposed to take in query inputs, put together both a logical and physical plan, optimize it, and then use that to then get the data that that was requested. So I think if I'm following my my idea of pushing the AI right into where the data is, I think you can have it in the storage engine too. But I think the query engine makes the most sense at this point. Again, this is not a fully fleshed out idea or something. I'm not gonna claim to have figured this out or whatever. But when you read some of the papers or whatever on distributed databases and all that, one of the recurring themes that come up is that, query engines are complex beasts, right? Especially when you're dealing with huge scale, because you basically want a program that intelligently not only is aware of the past, right, or has learned from the past, but also, or at least learns from the past to make decisions that are the best possible decisions given some context, right? And you want to do that repeatedly at neck breaking speed, neck breaking speed, uh, live, and you want to do it. You want to do it correctly. You want to do it fast, uh, and you want to keep improving. And with the amount of data that we are going to be generating year over year, it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And so you need a way to retrieve that data very intelligently. You need a system that somehow learns to get better over time. You need a system that almost always picks the best possible option in terms of what steps need to be put into motion to retrieve information. And yeah, I think to me it just makes sense that you're gonna have a solid fusion, long term solid fusion of a the query engines and the AI systems. And yeah, from that perspective, I feel like, yeah, I don't know that think, I don't think that whatever the MPC model context protocol is doing right now um, is or should have staying power, if that makes sense. I don't expect it to completely disappear because I think it's not entirely useless. It's useful. I just don't know that this is it. Like this is the thing that we are all going to, or should, that we should all settle on as a protocol. In fact, this being an AI thing, this assumption that this is the right protocol to get behind is, if you think about it, kind of laughable, because if we really let these machines reach their full potential, then they don't need us to design a protocol for them, right? If the machines are as intelligent as we like them to be, with AGI or ASI, whatever three-letter acronym you want to use, then it's kind of laughable that we think that we can come up with the best possible protocol for them for interfacing with each other, like that we can do that for them, right? So there's also that angle. Anyway, let's see. So this is a tool called Merly Mental, and I did a stream about this yesterday as a quick initial look. Basically allows you to add a repository and be able to look at, so they have a metric, a score metric that is supposed to indicate the quality of the code base, not only currently but also over the lifetime of the code base. And through that, you can get some insight for the code base, excuse me, that you are interested in. Yeah, these are low numbers. Huh, I'm gonna look into that later. But yeah, so I put in the MCP servers, the implementations. There are several implementations that I think they're meant to be official ones. And as you can see, I mean these are pretty good, decent scores, right? And they've managed to keep. I mean, to be fair, it's also pretty recent, right? So there's not a whole lot of code, only 8,000. I mean, it's not a small amount, but it's also not like, a whole lot. So they've managed to keep, since mid-January, they managed to keep a steady quality level. But I guess they also didn't add much in terms of lines of code. Also, I guess these numbers are a little like in terms of the number of lines of code. I think, yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it hasn't changed much, and I think that's because maybe they had a code somewhere, and then when they made the announcement, they just pushed the code, and they haven't really made a whole lot of changes to the code base. So I think that's why we have a mostly flat trend for the amount of code in the code base, over time. Since December last year. In terms of contributors, it gives you an idea of who are the top contributors. Mentor summary. You have recommendations. So I always find this section interesting. I mean, to be able to single out, specific contributors. Again, I feel like this will be something that's useful within an organization that's investing, some developer time in open source projects. Deep-rooted knowledge of the project's architecture. The ability to maintain lower issue scores is notable, and involving them in peer reviews or mentorship could further enhance code quality. Yeah. Oh, this is the main contributor, Tadaz Antanavicius. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah. Okay, so let's see the issues that have been flagged. So all of them are flagged as high priority. Let's see. Let's just look at one of them and see what what Melis tells us we should be looking at. In the meantime, while that's loading, let's see. Palantir. I know. Well, while the Merley thing is running, it's probably done though. Yeah, it's done. But I was just gonna mention something about Palantir. A lot of people always asking, well, what does Palantir really do? Like, you know, of course, there are some people who will say, well, they just help the military kill people, which, true, but also it's like, well, yeah, okay. I don't know how to take that. Like, are you basically saying that they are evil, or is the military evil? Or, yeah. Anyway, but really, I think fundamentally, Palantir is a integration system. Really, if you want to boil down to basics, it's the system that plugs into all of the system. Does so, mostly does information retrieval uh, and serving. Really, um, that's I think on a very basic level. That's what they do. They aggregate data from many sources, at enterprise scale, and derive value. Makes it easy for people to, run business processes with the necessary context at every step. And recently, they've been on this mission of convincing everybody, or every business, I guess, that they need an ontology. And the basic idea is that you codify your business in terms of entities slash objects. Then you have links, I think. And then you have action or logic. And I think the mantra is data, logic, action. Right? So you have a bunch of data, because you have a business, and that's state. If you were to codify your business as a program, it's a state machine. It has objects, it has entities, and there are relationships between those entities, and you take actions that affect the state of those entities and the relationships between them. And so really, so the ontology is basically your business as code. And I think they've been on that trend for the last 2 or 3 years. And I think it's really growing, at least based on stuff that I've watched or I guess listened to recently relating to Palantir. So, something to keep your eyes on. Okay. So this is one of the issues that Merley is flagging for the MCP servers code base. So there's this. So let's see. This is within a function called check rate limit. We're doing some IO here, or side effects, whatever you want to call it. Having the current time. Um, the current time minus the last reset, and I guess if it's been more than a second, um, we reset the request count metadata. So this is basically, I guess, saying there has been enough time passed since the last reset. And I don't like the naming here. Um, okay, so if this is basically checking some sort of window, um, or some sort of time window to make the decision whether to basically refill some sort of request quota. And if that's not the case, then do nothing. You're still within whatever the current window of time is with its current quota state. And basically you have the number of requests for a given seconds, a given I'm just gonna say time window. So you're basically enforcing the predicate here for the rate limit, and if the predicate gives you a true value, then that's how you know you've exceeded the limit. Okay, so let's see what Melody says. So okay, the original code, it was written in TypeScript. It is designed to evaluate 2 rates per second per month. It determines whether the number of request count made in the current second or month exceeds a predefined rate limit. I wonder if that's actually configurable. I bet, well, I will hope so, and that it's not just really hard coded. Bug identification. The code currently lacks an execution block for the if condition. No. But I think this is just a matter of how the model is being prompted. Right? It's only looking at the predicate. It doesn't actually care about the specifics of what's being executed within the block. At least it's not passed as an argument or as an input to the model. I think that's why this is being said here. So we can ignore this for now. Security concerns. Yeah, okay, so yeah, this being a rate limiting mechanism, I think it's bringing up the point that since we don't, at least looking at just this piece of code here, we don't have any guarantees about the validity or the correctness of the values that are being compared here, right? So I guess some validation, it's uh, advising for some sort of validation to make sure that those constants or those configuration values are actually what we think they should be. No performance concerns. Yeah, I will agree with that. Readability enhancements. Adding comments. Yeah, that will be helpful. Use consistent and clear naming conventions throughout the code to represent request count and rate limit more expressively if possible. And it's suggesting to do this. Which, I mean, from a machine standpoint, that doesn't matter, but I guess I know that from a code readability standpoint, this is a good. I will accept. Excuse me. I will accept such a change in a PR. It's also suggesting to actually have to pull a dedicated function, a utility function basically, that checks for the rate limiting. I can dig it. Yeah, I can dig it. Those are decent changes. I think this is mostly the same as Insight 1, Insight 3. Yeah. Oh, I think I just realized. And I mean, I'm learning how to, use this tool. It just occurred to me that, and I guess I should ask Justin, the CEO of Merrily, or I guess somebody else on the team. It just occurred to me that it's not that you're getting 4 separate / different insight. I think it's the same insight, but in 4 variants. And I think you're supposed to give feedback if you don't like the outcome of a particular one, or whichever ones you don't like, you can then post the feedback, which is then, I guess, used as a data point for reinforcement learning of some kind, or just improving the model. Yeah, that just occurred to me. I don't know why, but yesterday when I was using it, I guess I was under the impression that you needed, that it was providing actually 4 separate insights, but it's really the same insight, but in 4 variants. And you can then vote or give feedback on which one you like better. Yeah. Okay, and I think the other ones are basically similar. Excuse me. it. I'm curious to see what it says about that. The 10 million SaaS playbook. Wow.
This is David Park, and he built an AI app to $10 million a year in 2 years. How? Low budget videos on TikTok and Instagram. You might remember David from our underdog video. Well, you guys love that video. It got him.
Let's see. Jenny AI. Just quickly being distracted. Yeah. What does Jenny AI actually do? Intelligent research assistant. I'm arrogant enough to say that I can build this. But can I market it and distribute it the same way that he did? Probably not, unless I find somebody who can. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward in terms of what he does, which is usually a good thing, right? When you're building a product, it's like, I think it's pretty clear what the value proposition is here. And it seems to be also really good at targeting a specific audience, right? Researchers. I'm watching the product showcase. So I guess this is meant to help you write research, but as you're doing that, excuse me, it's providing you context and obviously citation. Complete. Chat to your research. Quickly understand and summarize your research papers. Generate from your files. Reference management. Paraphrase rewrite. Bulk import sources. Never write alone. Nice. Good for him. Good for him. Oh, you can also write speeches, write blogs, articles. Yeah. I mean, yeah, nothing here is particularly technologically compelling. I mean, no, it is compelling. Like it's useful, but it's something that, I mean, I'm gonna say this, and it's not to be a dig, because obviously this is making money if we are to believe the numbers being mentioned here. But it's the sort of thing or product that, in the age where the cost of intelligence is, well, artificial intelligence is slowly but surely lowering, like really fast and uh, becoming really cheap, I think it's hard to see the moat here, right? Because this is not infrastructure. It's not. It's very much a direct to consumer type of product that, honestly is very I would say trivial to reproduce, right? But then you have to admit that it's also a game of um, who, like, being the first mover, because then you have audience capture, and that can then be your moat, right? Once you've conquered audience capture and you've actually made something with it, um, you know, that's distribution for you if you don't lose it, obviously. And yeah, anyway, good, good for whoever this is. They figured something out, and they built something useful that lots of people are willing to pay for. Okay, so we're back here. Ooh, I feel like I tried this yesterday and it didn't work. The sliding. Huh. I mean, I can already guess what Mary's gonna say is that, or maybe not. Never mind. I thought I was gonna say something about the complexity of the predicate. How there are too many moving parts. Um, yes, actually, it does mention it. Readability enhancements. Yeah. Check if a branch exists given a code base or a repo. Wait, so okay, so this is checking if there is a repo and it catches an error, and it checks if the error is a 404 error. If yes, then return false. Otherwise, you throw. Why not just return false as well? I guess it's a matter of not wanting to, unless it's a bad request, which I guess is a stricter indication of the absence of a branch. Um, every other error is more of a logic error, unexpected logic error that should not be silently ignored. And so in those cases, it's basically rethrowing. Yeah, okay. I mean, in terms of revision, let's see. Oh, so, okay, maybe this is what I had problems with yesterday. Okay, so you have to land on the actual thing here. If you try to do it from here, it's not gonna work. It has to be directly on the anchor. Or, I don't know, can you call that an anchor? Yeah, I guess that's exactly what it's meant to be. The anchor between the tabs. Anyway. So, okay, so this is the proposed revision. I guess this is more explicit, right? It's not equal to null. It is an object. It has own property. Yeah, I think this is more explicit. And then you add the comment here. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that as a genuinely more useful version of this. I will accept that. And I think, so we looked at this. We looked at, well, two of these are just the same. And I think we looked at both just now. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, other than that, I guess there are no glaring issues to be worried about. That should be top of mind necessarily at this point. So in the actual repo here, they do have a bunch of implementation of the protocol. So let's see, for Slack, so you have the MCP server for the Slack API, enabling Cloud to interact with Slack workspaces. So you can list channels, post a message, reply to a thread, add reaction, the usual, nothing, things are pretty expected here. Get thread replies, channel history. Yeah. These are the permissions that you need. Okay, so you have your environment variables. Okay, so you just set up the command. Let's see, let's pick inside. Oh, it's a long file. Didn't expect it to be that long. Okay. Question is, do I have the when my eyes are starting to feel heavy? I don't know that I have. Well, actually, if you no, okay, let me shut up. Well, okay, let's just get started and see how far we get. Okay, I mean, some of these should just be straightforward, right? This is just an interface. It's pretty obvious based on the name and the properties. Like, there's nothing to really decipher about these interfaces. This is just the tool definitions. Okay, so tool arguments. So the schema, well, it's not really a schema, I guess. Type definition. But this will be the schema, right? For the tool. Yeah, input schema. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Yeah. Post message to required channel ID and text from the parameters. Is that a required property here? Nope. But it defaults to 100. Apply to thread. So again, all of these are pretty straightforward. These are just two definitions. So we have the Slack client bot headers. Okay. So you have the token. You instantiate the client with the token. Makes sense. Typical stuff. So the client then has all these operations. So we basically just have a wrapper around the Slack the Slack API, the REST API. So none of this is specific to, what a model context protocol does or whatever. This is just good old it's just a good old wrapper around the target API. Okay. So in main, you take the token, the team ID from the environment, you check. If it's not there, then you exit. Early termination. You start the server. I mean, the server with a here means some sort of SDK. It doesn't actually mean that you're running a server in the background just for this Slack MCP server. So you instantiate the client. Okay, so now once you have a server instance, right, or an instance of this MCP server, you need to register some handlers. And this is the port where the type definitions above are useful. Oh, actually no, this actually comes directly from the SDK. So you can make a request. I mean, I'm guessing this is very representative of the actual spec of the protocol. These are just the actions that you can perform. You can list the tools that are available. You can figure out the schema to call a tool. And you can actually call the tool. Okay. Okay, so you're adding the request handlers. So when a request comes in to get the schema of a particular tool, wait, why is this a console error? Shouldn't that just be a console.log or console.info? Doesn't seem like an error to me, at least not right out of the gate like that. Unless it's been deprecated. Yeah, no, that makes no sense. This thing just came out in January. Okay, yeah. I think this is just some lapse in attention that caused this. Okay, let's move on. So it checks the parameters for the arguments. And then based on the names. Shit. So, this is interesting. If you ask me, this setup here doesn't really scale well, does it? Because if you're n tools, so is each one of these considered a tool of its own? I guess it is. Uh, yeah, each one of these is considered a tool on its own. Oof, okay. So the more tools you add, that is based on this particular implementation here, you need to your number of case branches. Well, is it a, yeah, your number of case branches grows linearly with the number of declared tools. Yeah, I don't know if that's great. Probably isn't. You also run the risk of not having an exhaustive enumeration of all the cases. Anyway, all of this is pretty straightforward. Like, you check the type of the argument, you match it to a particular tool, which translates into some client API call. Yeah, I don't think there's anything interesting here to really sink our teeth into. And I guess to some extent that's a good thing. Straightforward, right? For whatever um, audience is meant to be using this. I don't know, maybe that's reductive. Maybe it sounds like I'm throwing shades, which I'm not trying to do. I'm just saying that. It's simple and straightforward. I'm not saying it's the best code possible to do this, but it gets the job done and it's legible. So, I think overall that's an okay thing. I just don't understand this console.error thing here. These are not errors. That is not great. So that was Slack. Redis. What time is it? Oh, okay. I think it's time to go to bed. Actually, let's look at time. A model context protocol to get the current time. I'm not saying this is useless. It's just, I don't know. I just hope we don't end up with a left pad type of situation where there's just this flood of these so-called MCP servers that do the most basic thing that you could make an argument for, like, why would you use this instead of actually, yeah, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, it's not just getting the current time and that's it. Sticking in, things like time zone arguments. Um, Let to know if it's daylight saving stuff. Yeah, I mean, this can be useful overall. Yeah, yeah, okay. Convert 9:30 a.m. Tokyo time to New York time. Yeah, okay. I mean, I wouldn't sit down and write this personally, but that's just me. I should write some implementation of an MCP server. I wonder what would be a good one to write. A good one, but not so boring, right? Damn, they're getting hammered with POs. Do they need help reviewing stuff? I can review some of these. They're like, no, you're fired. Okay, I don't know why I just did that. That was dumb. Uh, oh gosh, yeah, that was so dumb. There was no reason for that at all. Um, yeah, I should write just for the fun of it. I think I should write a MCP server. Gosh, how many of these are coming in? I mean, seriously, do they need help reviewing these? Is this GitHub? No. I've read the MCP protocol documentation. My channels follow. Okay, blah blah. Alright. Oh, wait, what? It's just adding. What the hell is this? It's just adding the documentation. What happened to the actual code? I'm confused. I'm confused. Sorry. Won't you actually add code? Cologne, Germany. So this is adding. Oh no, it's making a change to the Slack channel history. So the MCP is useful to generate reports based on the messages sent to the channel with a time range. Current implementation of get channel doesn't support filter pagina results. Really? I feel like we just went through the code and okay, so there was pagination. Wait, I think there was pagination, wasn't it? Well, let's see what this PO actually does. Maybe we can review it. All right, let's see. Um, so that was limit. Remove the limit. So we're doing cursor pagination. I mean, is that settled on? Or is that something to be discussed? Because I mean, cursor pagination is not the only option. But um, I can see why somebody would assume that using that, although it may also be part of the specification that you're supposed to use cursor pagination specifically. So I haven't looked at the specification itself, so I do not know. But anyway, um, we're just gonna assume that cursor pagination is the standard at this point. So let's just assume that. And we're using timestamp filtering. I just don't know if I guess they say naming things is hard. Latest and oldest feels like it's okay, but I think personally I would have gone with date start and date end. Yeah, I think I would have gone with that. Date start and date end. Unix timestamps. Wait, so you want Unix timestamps, but you also want them as strings? When I think usually when I would have expected them to go to label these as U64s. I guess in JavaScript that would be a big int, I think, just to be safe. Yeah, I think this is one of the things where you can either be this precise or you can be flexible in terms of the format that you accept. I think that if I was actually working on this and submitting this PO, I probably would have gone with date start, date end, and I would have used an ISO string type for those entries. I think that's what I would have done. But is it enough to not pass this PO? Depends on how I wake up that day, honestly. Yeah, okay. Also, doesn't JSON schema explicitly have a ISO string format specification? Or like a date? creating a JSON schema in a little bit, so I'm not remembering exactly if it's a built-in type definition. Um, has it been proposed but never accepted? Oh, this is just JSON validator stuff. Anyway, I think y'all get the point though. JSON schema inspect. Yeah, I feel like the schema, the JSON schema, spec has a datetime, like it has a notion of a datetime. I could be wrong on this. Diminishing scale issues, right? No. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, but it doesn't mention. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's the duration format. I mean, looking at this, they don't mention anything specific about the ISO, some ISO format. So it just assumed that it is some string, except for the duration here. Okay, well, let's go back to the PR. Let's quickly finish this. So schema definition. Again, I guess I'm not very happy that this is just a plain string here. Like if you're gonna go Unix, might as well just make it a big int or int or whatever. Use 64. That way it's very strict and it is what it is. And everybody needs to get on board. But this string here is it's not ideal. I wonder if there's a way to only do one append. Well, there is a way to write this where you only do one append instead of 3 separate appends. I mean, does it really matter here? Probably not. But again, it's the little things that eat your execution frame budget. I doubt that. Yeah, anyway, I'm not gonna go on a spiel about this. But anyway, you should be able to do this without doing 3 successive. Well, I guess not all 3 of them. Well, none of them may happen, or only one, or all 3. Only 2 of them will happen. But yeah, it's not apparent here, but this style of doing things, the more it's repeated across the code base, like in certain flows, this can be unnecessary. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is you can reduce this to only doing one append operation rather than potentially three of them. Because you can write in such a way that uh, you are always doing an append and it's always once. Um, yeah. Well, unless, okay, I think one thing that I am forgetting, or I do not, okay. Um, I should probably take back, well, no, I'll have to look into the some of the implementation of the behavior of this data structure. I don't know why, but for the reason why I brought up avoiding so many possible append operations, it's because I was thinking of this as an array. But obviously it's not. But still, the general uh, observation still stands. Okay. I mean, why haven't they approved this? I guess was only submitted yesterday. Yeah, I mean, if I was a maintainer here, I'll probably ask questions about, are we really sure that this is how we want to represent dates? Maybe make it more explicit. Call it date store, date oldest. Settled on whether we need to use a big int for the Unix value types, or do we want a date string? And if that's the case, then which of the do we just want to be really lax about what we accept as a date string, or we want to follow a specific well-known format? Yeah. Anyway, let's call it for today. Yeah, we basically went and did a quick um, quick overview, I guess, of model context protocols. We looked at some code. Nothing particularly interesting, like from a technical standpoint. It's just, straightforward JavaScript stuff. Yeah, I think I would like to look at other implementations, or maybe actually look at the SDKs. Maybe that's where the actual interesting code is. I mean, obviously there's the specification. I guess we could read through the specification. It shouldn't be that that extensive. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be that much to read through. So maybe that's what we do tomorrow. We read through the specification, actually understand what's going on, and yeah, maybe we'll implement one of our own. Maybe. Anyway, good night. Thank you for joining. If you did, or watching this, if this was useful to you in any way or interesting to you in any way, please do let me know by liking or subscribing. And yeah, I'll see you around.